guys and gals. Thanks for tuning in to tonight's edition of Dogman Stories. We have a great story for you guys tonight. It starts in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and ends in Wisconsin. Now, for those of you wondering how it starts in South Carolina and ends in Wisconsin, the entire story will cover an 18-year period of encounters with what we refer to as the Dogman, but our guest refers to as a werewolf. So without further ado, with your host, Amanda Lawson, episode 21, The Stalking Werewolf. At the age of 14, my father and I lived in Spartanburg, South Carolina. My father, Mike, and my Uncle Eddie and their friend Butch always loved to find new places to go and ride dirt bikes and four-wheelers. It was so much of a hobby, we even had a dirt track in our backyard. Well, one day, Butch had found this new riding area, so my dad and my uncle and Butch all loaded their bikes onto the back of my dad's truck and headed out. Now, it was just my dad and I, so I had learned to take care of myself. And my dad taught me well. Because of him, I'm a very independent woman. So I stayed back at the house doing what teenagers do when their parents are gone. You know, eating junk food in the living room with my feet on the couch and watching movies. Butch's family is right across the street. So if anything was to go wrong, Butch's wife was always right there. So I was good. I knew they would be gone a while. They always rode from sun up to sundown, and even sometimes sun up to sun up. My dad had returned home the next morning around 9 a.m. They rode all day and all night at the new area Butch had found. I was already awake cooking breakfast for myself, so I made him some too. My dad looked pale as if he had seen a ghost. My Uncle Eddie walked in. He seemed the same way. He got ready for work and didn't even say goodbye. Sitting at the table, I asked my dad, was everything okay? He said everything's fine, but he didn't look at me, so I knew something was wrong. He was acting very odd. He just wasn't acting right. Later that night at supper, he was still acting the same way. Now, my dad worked night shift, but he had the night off, so I asked him again, Dad, is everything okay? Yes, Pumpkin, eat your food. Dad, what's going on? I can tell something's wrong. No secrets, remember? That's our pact. I tell you, you tell me. Dad. Okay, just give me a minute. Uncle Eddie was at work. He worked the day shift, so I wasn't alone at night while my dad was at work. We had a system, and it worked for all of us. I'm sure my uncle was tired. He did stay out all night riding bikes, so he had no sleep last night. So we finished our supper and went and sat on the couch. Dad, tell me, now, what is wrong? You know the place we went to ride at yesterday? Yeah. Okay, well, it was great. Great hills, great trails, almost too perfect. Confused a little, I said to him, okay, so what's the problem? Are you and Butch fighting? Are you and Eddie fighting? No. Okay, you know how your uncle likes to play jokes all the time? Yes, I do. So what did he do? Nothing really. Butch and I were leaning against the truck, waiting for Eddie, and we seen him coming really fast. Fast. A lot faster than normal. He's screaming something, but we couldn't hear him over his bike. He finally got to us, damn near in tears, and he was trying to get his bike on the truck very quickly. He was hysterical, saying we needed to go now. We needed to go now. I started laughing, thinking it was one of his pranks. Told him to give it up. There's no monster over a hill. Well, he starts crying and jumps in the truck. He starts begging to go. So I thought, okay, He may have seen something. So Butch and I got on our bikes and went back down towards the hill to see if we could see what he seen. At first, nothing. Butch stops me and asks, "Do you smell that?" "Smell? What kind of smell, Dad?" "A wet dog smell." It was horrible. Then there was a howl, and we looked up on the hill. We froze, dead silent. We seen it standing there with glowing red eyes. Then it jumped off the hill and we could hear it coming our way. So we took off as fast as we could on our bikes, as fast as our bikes would go. We got to the truck, threw our bikes on. We didn't even strap them in. And then we jumped in the truck. As soon as I started the truck, I looked out the window, and there it was, its glowing red eyes still coming at us. So I hauled ass up to the top of the road, which was a few miles from any of the houses. We got back out of the truck to strap our bikes in, and we didn't see it, so we thought it was gone. I stopped and listened for a few seconds, and dogs started barking in the distance, and more dogs started barking, even the dogs at the houses that we were near. I believe these dogs were barking at what was chasing us, which meant it was still coming. So we hopped back in the truck and headed home. I think it was a werewolf. I know it sounds crazy, but it looked like a werewolf. Oh my God, Dad, I'm so glad y'all made it back okay. You could tell he was frightened, but I wasn't sure what to think. I mean, a werewolf? Come on, really? But I didn't say that to him. A few weeks had went by, and I started hearing stories of people seeing something going through their yards at night. I told my dad about it and was joking around and told him, "Thanks, Dad, for bringing home a werewolf." He didn't think it was funny at all. He and I started mapping out where he had seen it, and from the stories others were saying where they had seen it, and we come to the conclusion that it had followed the way that they drove home that night. How could something follow a truck with a human being not even being on the back? I was stunned, amazed, and a little shocked, and still a little in disbelief. I mean, I hadn't seen it. Anyhow, my dad was at work one night, and we all had CBs to talk on. This was around 1996 to 1997, before cell phones had took over the world. I was asleep, and so was my uncle. Now, I sleep with my window open and my screen shut. I never had a reason to be scared of leaving the window open. Apparently, Butch, my dad's friend, called my dad over the CB while my dad was at work and told him he could see something walking around in the backyard. So my dad came home, but pulled in at Butch's house across the street. He got out of his truck and watched the thing for a moment. As they were looking at it, it turned and looked right at them with its glowing red eyes. That's when they knew it had followed. It was right near my window, which was open, and I was dead asleep and had no idea what was about to happen. It was walking upright, just like a human, and turned toward my bedroom window. My father, in fear mode, grabs his gun out of the truck, runs to the middle of the road, and fires up in the air to try and distract it. It didn't work. It kept going to my window. It was right at my window, looking right at me, and I didn't even know it. Butch had his gun. My dad had his gun. Both shotguns. They were afraid if they shot at it, they would hit me. So they agreed they were going in before it got in my window. So they started shooting in the air and throwing big rocks at it. It was a werewolf. They knew they weren't seeing things or misidentifying an animal. This creature was a werewolf. They got the creature's attention, and my father and his friend risked their life coming face to face with a werewolf to save me, and I slept through the entire ordeal. They backed it up into our backyard, which is huge and had a big drop off into the woods. We got to kill this thing, they said to each other. They backed it up to the drop off and shot it. It fell down the ravine. They could hear the tree limbs breaking and crashing noises as this thing rolled down to its death. They didn't dare follow it. How stupid would that be? The next morning I woke up after sleeping through everything, went outside to get the racetrack ready, when I seen a huge wolf-like print in the dirt. Oh my God! I glanced around and I ran into my house crying, and I woke up my dad screaming, "Werewolf!" He jumped up. I told him about the print on the track. I was running through the yard to show him, and of course it had started raining, so by the time he got there it was gone. Dad, it was there. I swear. I saw it. It was right here. It's okay, honey. I believe you. He took me across the street to Butch's house, and they sat me down and told me what had happened the night before. As a 14-year-old child, a story like that is enough to really scare you to death. I never slept with my window open after that. They assured me they killed it. Said they shot it and it fell down the ravine. The werewolf was dead. A year goes by without incident. The stories had finally stopped about a werewolf stalking homes at night. I was across the street at Butch's house talking to his kids, and I look over at my house, and where I didn't make sure the door was completely shut, the wind had pushed my door open. I seen something move next to my house, so I looked closer. That's when I saw it. 8 feet tall, dark brown fur, and glowing red eyes. It was the werewolf standing at the corner of my house, and my door was open. I got up and started running towards my house. Someone grabs me. I started screaming, "I've got to save my dad from the werewolf!" They look over. It's gone. But my door was open. He walked me across the street to get my dad. We looked everywhere, but it was gone. Every year it seemed to show back up around the same time. I don't know if it was migrating or just coming to be seen. Eventually we moved from there. A few years later, my dad and I did a haunted house and a haunted trail for Halloween every year. I loved helping. This year I was going to be the head honcho. It was going to be amazing. We had a great spot. It was off in the woods and a big parking lot for the cars to park, and we were there every day building stuff and getting the haunted trail ready for Halloween. One day we got there and did a walkthrough before we opened, and the ticket booth was ripped apart and had big, long claw marks down it. I looked at my dad. Looks like the werewolf is back. Nah, it's just someone being mean and playing a joke on us, trying to get us to leave this spot so they can get it. So he assured me. Okay, let's hope so. So the ticket booth was rebuilt and we opened the haunted trail as scheduled. I was a lot older now, so I was the head guide. I took people through the trail and they absolutely loved it. Everyone started talking about how much they loved the werewolf off in the woods. The eyes were so red and how it seemed so real by the way it walked. We knew the werewolf was back, and we could not risk the safety of the people on the trail, so we had to close the trail early that year. My dad finally told me this is where the sighting of the werewolf had actually begun, and there was an old man who lived in a tree house in this area, and every night he sits out in his tree watching and waiting to kill it. We got out of there hoping never to see the werewolf again. A few years had passed and I had moved to West Virginia. Then I had a little girl. She was 7 or 8 years old, and one day she came in the house screaming, saying that there was a werewolf with red eyes beside my car growling at her. I locked all the doors and windows. afraid that it was the same one from South Carolina. Had it found me after all these years? Why was it stalking me? My daughter and I slept in the same room for a while after that. It was just the two of us, so I had to do what I could to protect my child. Nothing else seemed to happen with the werewolf. At this time in my life, I was more fascinated with the werewolf and Dogman sightings, encounters, and theories. I went on a dating site and found someone who was interested in the same things I was, werewolves, etc. So I decided to pack up and move to Wisconsin to be with him. The first year was great. He took me to Elkhorn and down Bray Road. I didn't see anything them nights. I got a job working crazy hours. We were driving home one night and I seen something go into the cornfields that resembled a werewolf. I told Danny, my boyfriend, and he just blew it off. After that, every night we started hearing howling near our house. It was very close. We weren't sure how close it was, so we didn't go outside after dark. I was driving home one night, and there's no houses on the road that I was on, and I see a guy run across the road naked. He didn't flag me down for help, so I kept heading home. And when I got home, I ran inside and woke Danny up, and he just blew it off again. The next week, I was on the same road, driving home from work. At the same time, maybe 30 minutes later, and I almost got to the same spot where I had seen the naked guy from the week before, and I see the same guy again, and then there was a bright flash of light. I stopped in the road at this time. After the light faded, there was a werewolf standing right in front of me. This one was different. I had never seen one like this before. It had glowing yellow eyes. I blinked for a second. It was gone. So I rushed home as fast as I could and I woke Danny up and told him about it. He just fell back asleep. The next morning I was up doing chores and Danny called. "Hun, I had the weirdest dream last night." "Really? What did you dream about, Danny?" "I dreamed you seen a werewolf on the way home last night." "That wasn't a dream, Danny. I told you that happened when I got home and you went back to sleep." "I'm sorry, honey." Now on my way home, Danny stays on the phone with me until I pull in the driveway. The other night I couldn't sleep and he woke up, so I asked him if he would go out and smoke a cigarette with me. "Sure, why not?" he responded. He knows I won't go outside after dark by myself. We started hearing howling and it was very close, very close. I could see the top of the corn moving and getting broke, so we went back inside. He went back upstairs and went to bed. He fell right back to sleep. I just laid there. We have a fan in our window, and I can hear the creature walking around on the roof. Even my cat was scared. It stayed in my lap all night growling at the window. I finally fell asleep. And then last night, which was August 9th, 2016, I got woke up to a growling in my window. I grabbed Danny's arm, put it over me, and laid there trying not to move. At least until the smell of wet dog was gone. I know when it's near, and when I smell wet dog, I know they smell fear. So I don't move if it's near. There's only a fan in my window. All it has to do is push on the fan and it'll come right in. I know this isn't the last time I will see, hear, smell, or even acknowledge the wet dog smell is around. And I know it's probably not the last time I'll see the werewolf in my road. And at least I'm not alone. Others on my street have seen it too. Every one of these are true. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask. My name is Chrissy, and as of today, I'm 33 years old. Since I was 14 years old, I've had to deal with this animal or creature or whatever you want to call it. Hopefully one day it will leave me alone. Wow, Chrissy, that's a lot to take in for all these years. Please keep us updated on any more activity and let us know if there's anything we can do and if you're okay. Also, if there's anything you need at any time, please feel free to contact me at dogmanstories@gmail.com, or you have my number. And also, we have a bunch of great supporters that will usually comment down below. Feel free to talk to them. And there's just a little something I'd like to talk about on Chrissy's behalf. You know, we talk about dogmen and werewolves being two different creatures. Dogmen are obviously animals, and werewolves are creatures that change from human form to wolf form. Now, Chrissy did mention she's seen a naked man run across one night, and then the same naked man run across in a flash of light, and then there was a werewolf. Did Chrissy actually see a werewolf, or was it a dog man? That's the question that needs to be answered. We could possibly have werewolves among us, and not just dog men. Well, that's all we got for tonight, guys. As always, tune in next Saturday, and I do apologize for the late upload, thanks to the internet of High Point. But as always, have a great night and tune in next Saturday at 9 p.m. for Dogman Stories, episode 22. And also, if you may do so, please subscribe and like and share the videos. Also, if you'd like to support the YouTube channel, just hit the support button on the main page of the YouTube channel. And as always, good night and beware of the dog man.